Hello everybody, Killer was here, and today I will be doing what if Deku was reborn as a slime, part 31. So, in the last part, Deku just defeated Bellicor and was about to kill him, but that was when All Might would have stopped him. Now, continuing the story, after All Might stopped Deku from basically killing Be'lakor, Deku would have went and, well, sealed Be'lakor away. Him doing so in a container that has been reinforced with his slime. And after that, Deku would have given that container to the police, since Be'lakor is considered a villain. But whenever he gave that container to the police would have taken the container and, well, cuffed Deku, them saying that it is illegal to use their quirks without a hero license, them also arresting Bakugo and Kirishima, even though they didn't hurt anyone. Well, they sort of did, to the villains. So, yeah, they have been taken to the police, with All Might coming along with them. Him basically telling the police that they did nothing wrong and that they should release them, which eventually they would do that. As we would fast forward to after Aizawa and All Might told everybody about the UA dorms, with Class 1A arriving the next day in, well, UA, as everything would have been the same with the anime. Class 1A moving into their rooms and them having a contest to see who has the best room. Now, after that, it would have been the next day, as their training would begin. They're training for the provisional license exam. Them trying to develop their super move, which Deku, Bakugo, and Kirishima kind of already, well, have. And after that, it will be time for the provisional hero license exam. It's starting just as normal. Everybody from every school targeting UA, or well, Class 1A. But as they were throwing their balls at Class 1A, they would have been met by, well, gluttony, and also an explosion to the face, since Bakugo is using Missile Barrage. This taking out most, if not all, of the ones that are targeting their class, or well, UA, with the entire class passing very easily, since Deku, Bakugo, and Kirishima is basically carrying the entire class, as it would be the second part of the exam, with Deku basically being the leader of Class 1A. He would start ordering the entire class to quickly save every civilians that they can save, them following Deku's instructions and, well, successfully saving all of those civilians. But this is when Gain Orca would appear. And since Deku at this time is flying around trying to help more civilians, he would immediately notice that Gain Orca just, well, attacked the place where every civilians are brought to. Him immediately rushing towards that location to check if those civilians are hurt or not. And whenever he did, he would have saw that Todoroki is there as well, him asking Todoroki to help with the evacuation as well, which Todoroki does not listen since he wants to fight Gengarka, as he runs off to Gengarka's direction. Deku thinking, oh seriously, come on. him immediately creating more clones to help with the evacuation. Now, over with Todoroki, the same thing would have happened in the anime. You know, he and that Win guy would try to fight Gengarka and, well, them arguing with each other. But before this can actually cause Todoroki to fail the provisional license exam, this is when Deku would have, well, arrived. Him telling Todoroki to focus on fighting Gengarka and not on this, well, argument. Him rushing forward to fight Gengarka, as Deku, while using 50% of Thor's armor, he would throw a punch straight towards Gengarka's, well, face, with Gengarka blocking the attack. But this would have still sent Gengarka flying back a bit. Him regaining his balance to see that Deku has just fired a blast of black lightning towards him. Gengarka, seeing that, would have immediately dodged out of the way. Him running in to try and use his quirk to knock Deku unconscious, as he grabs Deku by his neck and basically headbutts him with his quirk, this knocking Deku back as it would turn to, well, slime. Gengarka being confused as Deku would appear right next to Gengarka, him punching Gengarka in the face. Deku landing back onto the ground as he would throw a kick into Gengarka's face again, which Gengarka blocks, but this attack would have actually broke the, well, armor on his wrist. But before Deku can do anything else, this is when the exam will end. Him landing back onto the ground as Gengarka would think that the kick that Deku land on him is, well, a heck of a kick, and it really, really hurts. Now, after that, it would have been announced that nobody in UA was, well, failed, because Bakugo is listening to orders and not being basically an asshole. And since Deku basically saved Todoroki from getting failed, he barely passed the exam, as the rest would be the same as the anime. But one more thing would be different, and that would be that the fight between Bakugo and Deku will not happen, because Bakugo knows that he cannot defeat Deku. So instead of fighting, he would go and chat with Deku. And after that, it would have been the next day, with Aizawa introducing the Big Three, him also telling everybody about the work studies. This is when Miria would suggest that they should have a battle, which Aizawa grudgingly lets them do that, with Class 1A, Aizawa, and the Big Three going to... wait, where did they go? The place where they fought Mirio? Yeah, that place. With everybody getting ready to fight Mirio, which, just as the anime, he dominates everybody except for Deku, Bakugo, and, well, Kirishima, since he knows that Deku, Kirishima, and Bakugo is the strongest out of the entire class, as he reappears back onto, well, the ground. Bakugo thinking, damn it, I can't track his movements. Oi Deku, do you have a way to beat this guy? Deku, using thought communication, would have said, well, not yet. Bakugo thinking, well, we're doomed. With Mirio facing through the ground again. Deku, seeing that, would immediately use Ultrasonic Wave, him being a bit confused since he can't sense Mirio anywhere. But this is when he would sense that Mirio just appeared out of nowhere from behind Bakugo, him thinking, Kachan, duck! Bakugo hearing that would have, duck. Him looking back up to see, Mirio's fist. Him lighting his back with explosions as it would blow up. This surprising Mirio as he would have been, sent backwards. With Bakugo ruining his shirt and ripping it off, him thinking, damn it, why did I did that? Him using his explosions to propel himself straight in front of Mirio. Him trying to throw an explosion to, hit Mirio, which Mirio would just permutate through. But before Mirio can hit Bakugo, this is when Kirishima would have rushed in to try and tackle Mirio. But Mirio would have just permutate through Kirishima, him landing on the other side as he would try and fire wind pressures at Mirio. Bakugo, after being punched by Mirio, he would immediately know that his explosions didn't even hold Mirio back. While this was happening, Deku was basically spectating, him trying to think of a way to defeat Mirio. Mirio seeing that Deku is not fighting, he would immediately permutate through the ground and trying to attack Deku. Him appearing right behind Deku and punching Deku in the back. But Deku just stands there and let Mirio punch straight through him. Him noticing that Mirio's hand is inside of, not inside of, is through his body, he would try and grab it, which he just faced through Mirio's hand, as Mirio would kick Deku in the face, or in the head. Him doing so as this sort of cleanly swipes off Deku's head, with his head spinning in the air and landing back onto, his body. This surprising Mirio, as this is when both Kirishima and Bakugo would try and surprise Mirio, them rushing at Mirio at the same time, with Kirishima on Mirio's left and Bakugo on Mirio's right, them each throwing a wind pressure and an explosion, as this, just as usual, would just phase through Mirio and hit the other guy. Basically, the explosion hit Kirishima and the wind pressure hit Bakugo, them being confused as Mirio would have been in front of Bakugo, him giving Bakugo a gut punch. This making Bakugo staggering back as Mirio would disappear into the ground again, this time reappearing right in front of Kirishima, with Kirishima trying to block Mirio's attack, which Mirio just phased through his block and into his, face. But right before Mirio actually landed his attack, Kirishima would have hardened his entire body, this relieving a bit of the impact, but it still hurts like hell, but not as much as Deku. So they can still take a couple hits from Mirio, and by they I mean Bakugo and Kirishima. But right after Mirio attacked Kirishima, Deku would have actually touched Mirio. Mirio being surprised since Deku is actually touching his body, meaning that Deku found a place where Mirio didn't permutate, or activate his quirk. Also, he is surprised to see that Deku found where Mirio didn't permutate. And if you're wondering how Deku found a place to basically touch Mirio while he's activating his quirk, it is because he used ultrasonic wave. And since ultrasonic wave releases ultrasonic sound waves, meaning that it can track the part where Mirio is not using his quirk. If you don't understand, basically imagine this. You have two rocks in your hand, and let's say that these two rocks are Mirio. Now, you put those two rocks in a puddle of water, and let's just say that that water is the ultrasonic sound wave. After you did that, let's say Muriel used his quirk in a part of his body. So we take one of those two rocks out of the water, and that rock that is left underwater is the body part that Muriel didn't use his quirk. So it basically shows Deku where Muriel didn't activate his quirk. Okay? Okay. So after Deku figured out that, he would basically aim for the part where Muriel didn't activate his quirk. But whenever he did, Muriel would just immediately activate his quirk in that part of his body, him permutating through Deku's attack. With Deku sensing another part of Muriel's body is, well, not using permutation, so he aims for that body part. But just as the last one, whenever he was about to land his attack on that body part, Muriel would just activate his quirk on that body part. This annoying Deku a bit, as Deku would just, well, attack Muriel throughout his entire body at the same time. Him doing so, as Muriel would just, well, jump out of the way. Him going through the ground and appearing right behind Deku again. Muriel sending a punch straight into the back of Deku, but this is when Bakugo would have gotten back up, him firing a giant explosion towards Muriel and, well, Deku. This creating a giant smokescreen as Deku would have caught Muriel off guard, him sending in a punch straight into Muriel's face, while using 80% of Thor's armor. If you are wondering how Muriel got punched in the face by Deku, it's because whenever Muriel uses his quirk, he cannot see or even breathe. So whenever he got back up from the ground, he deactivated his quirk to see where Deku is. But that was when Bakugo would have fired that explosion, this surprising Muriel as Deku would have basically turned around and punched him in the face, this electrocuting Muriel and sending him flying back. Him landing back onto the ground barely conscious since Deku did use 80% of Thor's armor, and also electrocuting Muriel, with the Big Three and the entire Class 1A being shocked to see Muriel being bitten by Deku with one punch. Now after that fight, it will be time for the work studies. Well, hero work studies, with Deku and Kirishima going to Sword Ice Agency. As for Bakugo, he would have went to Fat Gum's agency. And whenever Deku and Kirishima arrived to Sword Ice Agency, the same thing would have happened just as the anime. You know, him still thinking that Muriel is still the better choice to become the successor to One for All, even though he saw Kirishima and All Might teaming up to defeat All for One. Him challenging both Kirishima and Deku to take the stamp off of Sunai's hand. With Deku using fog communication, he would have asked Kirishima, "So Kirishima, should you take it or should I?" Kirishima saying, "I will." Him powering up to 40% of One for All, and taking the stamp from Sunai in a blink of an eye, with Sunai being surprised to see Kirishima's speed, him accepting Kirishima, as he turns around to Deku, him telling Deku to do what Kirishima just did but even faster, which Deku does easily. Now this will be the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe. That will be amazing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!